Hey guys, welcome back. Name is Timmy Tran. I'm your link to the fire within and to God. Yeah, I gotta do glass. Gotta do a little hat too. Alright guys, you got power. You got power to change anything in your life anytime. It doesn't matter what you learned in the past. It doesn't matter what you've been doing at this time. You can make your life the way you want it. But it's up to you, right? Your free will. God do not care what you do. Every consequence always set in all the action you decide to take, right? All the consequence or reward are set in all the action you decide to take. Now you surround bad people, and they made those bad action, and you surround them, you might face the same consequence. You know what I'm saying? It's because you hang around the people that doing bad stuff, and when they get punishment because you surround it, you allowed it, right? And you put yourself in that situation, right? I mean, you see water like running down the stream and really fast, and you jump in, and what happened? Or you stand closer, and the flood and stuff like that. What happened? You're gonna get caught in the flood, right? Maybe the action you're not taking, but you hang around that kind of stuff, right? So you end up getting the same consequences, even though other people make the decision, right? It's like a group of people going out, and you decide to hang around them, and they commit crimes, some of that, and when they arrest, your accomplishment, right? You're there, you're with them, right? And that's how work is, guys, right? You got to realize, the people you hang around with that are doing bad things, then you need to get away from it, right? Yeah, it is. Let's give it. You don't get away from it. Yeah. Oh, they're my friend. All kind of that don't work in within a law system, right? They don't work with God, and they don't work with man law, right? So you gotta distinguish that, guys. You got to understand. That's the way there's a God law and there's human law. The reason is that God law, because most people don't obey God law. So what happened? They subject to man law, right? And man law is still distraction, stuff like that, right? And it wasn't meant for them to steal distraction, because if you have bad people that control the man law, what happened? They're gonna extract money from you. They're gonna take tax from you. They're gonna take all this, because they gotta live. Because instead of they go and get a job, now they have to uphold that law, because you don't follow God law. Then the main law has set in place for you, because think about this: you all live together in the same space, right? In the same world. If you don't want to live with God, why don't you just build your own city? You can't, because if you don't believe in God, you do whatever you want to do. And we live in a world with other people. Even you live with people that don't believe in God, together, y'all cannot live together, because you don't believe nothing, right? Y'all will hurt each other, destroy each other, because eventually it's a survival mode, right? So if you don't believe in God, then whether the two of you don't believe in God and you're in a survival mode like an animal, you're just trying to defeat each other to who survive, right? Because you don't believe in God. So at the end, you act like animals, because you got to survive, right? Animals, that's what they do. They eat each other, right? They have no belief in something that they can work together, right? As a human that's intelligent, for you to make this good decision to work together, that's intelligent. Now if you don't make that decision to work together, then you live like an animal. You don't have an intention, right? And you just want to rob and steal, and that's what happened to people that took power, right? And these people who took power, it's not their fault, because you're not held them accountable for it. So you can't blame them either, because they passed out the law, and you're okay with it, right? And you don't want to suffer the consequence of the law, but you don't want to vote for the leader, right? You can't blame that leader, right? He's just doing what he wanted to do, because you didn't help him to the highest standard to what he promised you, right? When he promised you, you go there, he don't do stuff, and you don't say nothing, right? And you don't call him up, tell him, say, look, they're not promised stuff, but most time, right? They want to hold power over you, so you cannot say nothing, right? Because you You do not look into his past or anything like that, and what he's been doing, right? Into his action before you vote for that guy, right? Now, granted, say nobody's perfect, right? Anybody can go up there and be corrupt, right? It doesn't matter what information you have, in your life. You can learn, but you can be corrupt. You can make bad choice, right? But that's what God came in for you to repent, And as long as you don't make bad choice where you hurt a lot of people, like Hitler, right? In what we know is that Hitler hurt a lot of people, so he has to face the consequence. And with these people hold power and leader, and they still get destroyed, right? Just think about you look just by yourself. If you do bad something, you're going to get destroyed, right? Because you can't escape that, right? You make the bad decision you make, you cannot escape that, right? You can hide for so long, but you're gonna get one. And technology is coming out now. Now, there's record, all kind of stuff with that. So you got to do good, right? You got to want to do good, because you can prosper doing good, create and build. That's what God intended for you to do, right? But you still, what happened? Now, in the past, people can get still. There's no record, right? I mean, there more people do bad things in the past than today, right? It's because they think they can get away with it, right? Because back then we got the technology, it's like you can't keep up with nothing, right? Because you hear from other people. That's about it, right? You don't have technology where you need people today, but you can access the technology that fast or information that fast, right? So that's how the world works, guys. So you gotta learn to use your intelligence. Your intelligence that think about it, and make good choices for humanity, right? For yourself and for your family, right? Now, if you don't use your intelligence, you just follow other people, right? And you follow your feeling, you follow your emotion, you follow your sympathy, because you never realize the consequence that that comes for each action, right? Every action, every individual or corporation or leader make, it got a consequence to it, right? So think about this: if you vote for somebody, or you have somebody that they're trying to destroy other people, human, and make other people punish it, then you're on the wrong side. You should not punish nobody, because as long as you punish what happened, you become God, and God don't punish somebody. And He already created everything like it is, and you can be scared of it or whatever. You can make up a story and you can say all these things about how God, the word is belong to Satan, not belong to evil entities. You understand? God created everything. So, as human, you can say, this world belongs to Satan. This world belongs to evil, right? That's in your head. Now, in the Bible, say yes. You know what? That's the whole reason God said, look, down here is as human, that we have faith, we can experience all these bad things and all these bad thoughts, right? There's a bad thought in every human, right? And you born into this universe, you're gonna have bad thought. But right now, what we know is that human, that every single one have a bad thought to go in their head, right? Bad thought go in their head. It's just like a bad thought that go into like Jesus, tell Jesus that, hey, I own this world. Everything, if you do what I say, everything belongs to you. Satan don't own this world unless we release so. Satan don't own this world. God owns this world. God put Satan here to give him, to get him to understand that he can repent, right? He can do good by God, but that's his choice. So God is giving the same thing to us, right? He gave us so much power. Are we going to be just like him? Are we going to be like Satan, right? If we don't call him Satan, I just say making bad human choices, right? Well, it depends on what you learn. You live on earth, depending on what you learn, right? If you learn more knowledge, you can have more expand. Some people learn so much knowledge that they lost, right? But they don't believe in God. All right, guys, from God, Jesus Christ, from taking memory, change your life forever, okay? Change your life forever. That's simple. Keep it simple, okay? Or else confusion. Have a good day, guys. Bye-bye.